Welcome to Vibrant Beginnings. I'm your host, Dr. Ashley Thomas. This week, we have MeMe Clark. MeMe Clark is a certified life and wellness coach, disability advocate, and educator, a powerful young woman with the ability to reach people right where they are in life. Mimi developed a yearning for serving people early in life while battling her own chronic illness. Her passion for coaching and consulting evolved while pursuing her bachelor's in psychology and coaching. She later went on to pursue her master's degree in community counseling, where she focused primarily on serving individuals with chronic illness and disabilities, in addition to high risk populations. Mimi has said, I want to touch the people who feel like they don't deserve or aren't worthy to receive change. After years of prayer and thought, she decided to merge her passion for coaching with her love for holistic wellness and birthed a unique coaching experience that focuses on supporting individuals with chronic illness. During this time, she also served as a doula, where she supported high risk, underprivileged women during their journey to motherhood. When Mimi is not working, she enjoys spending time with her family, traveling, listening to podcasts, volunteering, and trying coffee from unique coffee shops throughout the city. Mimi's spunky yet modest demeanor allows her to strike up a conversation with just about anyone. Mimi lives each day to give, do, and serve out of abundance of her heart, simply being herself. She is able to touch many hearts and transform many visions into reality. The next level you will deserve a different you. The key to your transformation is first believing you deserve it. The goal is to not just to live, but to thrive and to look dang good while doing it. Mimi Clark. Tell me a little bit about your pregnancies. You've had two births, not necessarily back to back. There was a little bit of a time frame between them, or a little gap, I should say. So tell me about your birth experiences.
So I have a really interesting story. My 15-year-old, so I have a 15-year-old and a 2-year-old. So they are very spread out. I would like to say that my my big boy, I can't call him a little boy anymore, is was my test baby.
Yeah,
So
I can see that.
he was at college with us. He did all of the things. I had my son when I was 19 years old.
Okay, yeah.
So it was a little different. The birth experience was different. It was more survival at that time in a different type of way. Not very prepared to be a mom at 19, 20 years old. You're kind of just trying to figure things out. Compared to my 2-year old, 2-year old still was a situation where it was like, oh, okay. We were told for a long time, due to my health, that I would not be able to have any more children. We had some lost in between. So when she came, it was like, what the heck? It wasn't even on my radar. And her birth experience was also, it was a challenge in a different type of way, being an older human, but also having more pronounced health concerns. So it was considered high risk and all of those things. So it was a journey for both of them, but they both made it here, and they're both wonderful humans.
Beautiful and thriving.
Right, they're thriving. So um it was definitely worth it in the end, but I will not say that it was an easy journey to
Yeah,
get either one of them here, especially my second one. So
definitely. Yeah, I can totally understand that. If you don't mind me asking, how old were you with your second one?
so my second one, I was 31,
Okay.
31 years old,
Yeah.
31, 32. And so, to the medical community, I was hitting on geriatric pregnancy.
Such a silly term.
Right, which is crazy because I'm like, baby, I'm not geriatric.
Right?
But
Come to Florida and you find out what geriatric is.
right. so so yeah, they treated it a little differently.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was different. It was different.
I can totally understand that. Was there any prepping that you did for either of your pregnancies? Like you were kind of prepared and you're like, oh, let me like change my diet or let me exercise a little bit more. Were you doing any kind of prep for either pregnancy?
So for my oldest baby, my son, there was no prep. There was literally, like I said, it was more survival
Yeah.
at that time, and I didn't have the education that I have now. compared to that birthing. So no, with him it was like I'm gonna eat what I can because that's what I can afford, and I'm going to try my hardest just not to stress. I was still living with my mom, so it was just a lot at that time. Compared to my daughter, we had her. COVID was kind of tailing to the end, but was still there. So there, I of course hired a doula, because that was the only way I could have another support person in the room with me. That was
Yeah.
the first thing I did, was
Nice.
hire a doula. I was like, let me tell you who will not be the only person in the room with me, because he does not have any more children.
Yeah.
So he's a great support, but I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to get somebody else. And so I hired a doula. I had to completely change my lifestyle, which was already along the healthier side, but I had to kind of do a lot more. I was diagnosed with mixed connective tissue disease back in 2012, 2013. And along with that came something called antiphospholipid syndrome, which is why we had so many lost.
Right.
So I had to switch up my eating to have more nutritious foods, but also to watch the foods that would cause clotting.
Yeah.
So that was something that I had to do. I still did yoga. I had severe morning sickness, so just adding in a lot of more natural things to help with that, so that I did not have to go the medication route for the nausea. But yeah, so that was pretty much the prep we did. We also did a lot of prep concerning when I would come home. We knew that it would be kind of interesting towards the end of the pregnancy. So we wanted to make sure that things were prepared in a different type of way for when I came home, and not knowing my physical status once I did come home. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the prep we did for that. But the biggest thing I can say we did was hire the dude.
Awesome.
That was the biggest thing. I also seen a chiropractor the
Very cool.
whole time throughout
Awesome.
my pregnancy, and my daughter as well. Once she was born, she was in chiropractic care.
Oh,
So
very cool. Very cool.
yeah,
As a chiropractor, I definitely support that and love
yes,
that.
it's I don't know if I can say names, but if I can't, just Dr.
You
Sam
can.
was my chiropractor,
Very
Sam
cool.
March, and she took care of me from 12 weeks all the way up until the day I walked into the hospital.
Yeah.
She did a great job. And
Oh,
there
that's
was
awesome.
days I with the joint issues, things like that, days I
Yeah.
could barely walk. And I was like, I just need to go to the guy. So she helps me. She was like my before doula.
Yeah. Oh, I love that chair.
Yeah, that was she
Very
was
cool.
she was the before.
Yeah.
So yes, that was something we also chose to invest in during
Oh, very
during the
good.
pregnancy.
Very good.
Hmm.
I just wanted to know, like, I thought it was really cool that you said the after you were like thinking ahead of time of like, what's it going to be bringing baby back into the home and how am I going to feel? How is it going to feel in the house? So I think that's an important thing to know of not just the pre what we're doing like as we're going
Yeah,
through the pregnancy, but the post as well, like how we're
yes,
supporting ourselves afterwards. I think that's really awesome.
yes.
And you had mentioned earlier off camera that you're also a doula. You went through some doula training. How did that help you on your pregnancy? Do you think that like supported you of like knowing you had already had a child, but did it support you in ways that you're like, oh, now I know these things to look out for, how to support myself, or is there anything that you can tips you can give our listeners that might help them as well?
So the funny thing is, it did not.
No.
It did not. It
Oh
was
no.
so not in a bad way.
Right.
So and I'll explain why it didn't. It helped along the sides of, okay, I know the medical aspect of delivering a baby.
Right.
If things go the way they're quote unquote supposed to, this is what's supposed to happen. This is what dilation, this is active. This is when you go to the hospital. This is when you don't. This is how you avoid medication. I knew all of that.
Yeah.
But my pregnancy took a left hand turn at about 7.5 months. My last month of pregnancy, I was in the hospital. So for a month before we had our daughter, I was in the hospital and she came
Oh,
prematurely. So for that, the birth experience was not what you would typically learn to support a woman um, during their labor and delivery,
Yeah.
unless you have a specialized doula that works with individuals who have those chronic illnesses or have disabilities,
Yeah.
which is now more of what I want to focus on because I was able to see the gap between, okay, yes, the average person, this will be great. But for an individual who may have some things going on outside of it takes a little more support.
Yeah.
So it just allowed me to know that there needs to be some additional training for myself when my goal is to always support, especially women with chronic illnesses and disabilities. So that's so it kind of to answer your question, it did help because I knew the stages, I knew those things,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we had to the complete shift and change was like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And for that, I was so thankful to have a doula,
Yeah.
because she
For the
was kind of
pivots.
trained. Yes,
Yeah.
she had did some training in different populations,
Hmm.
so she was able to support me very well
Good.
um,
That's so awesome
with
to hear.
those things, and that was something we hadn't even spoken about.
Yeah.
But she was able to kind of do that support. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's probably one of those things that you just don't know, and you don't know what you don't know type situations that you didn't know how to prepare. And that's what I love about talking to women about pregnancy and like what to expect. And everyone's story is different, and every situation is different. Every baby comes into this world kind of a different way too. You have your black and white of what you expect is going to happen, and then life happens. if if you were to potentially have another baby, is there anything you would do differently to prep?
We are not having any more.
That's a solid answer.
No, it would have to. To have another child, there would have to be a lot of things um, placed in order, just
Yeah,
because it was a
that's
challenge
yeah,
to get her here, but then there was a challenge afterwards. So we've just, for medical purposes, for me, it's just
yeah.
not
On the
probably the
cards,
best
yeah,
thing, right? But if I were to have another child, something I think that I would do differently is I don't think I want a I would think I would go more along the having a midwife.
mm,
I had a high risk team and it was very stressful. So
yeah. I can
uh,
imagine.
we were at the hospital at 6 to 7 months. I was at the hospital every other week.
Right.
I didn't have time to enjoy a lot of the process of my pregnancies. One So my first son, I didn't have time because I was trying to figure out how I was gonna survive
Hmm.
in a different way. This
Yeah.
way, my daughter, I was still trying to figure out how to survive, not monetarily, but we were fine with that. But it was more like how to survive literally,
Yeah.
physically, and how to keep this baby alive. So knowing what I know now, I would have hired a midwife. And I would have simply just said no to a lot of things. I wouldn't have acted out of fear. We had went through so much between my 15-year-old and the 2-year-old, fertility wise and just things like that, that it was like, I got to do everything that I can to make sure this baby comes earthside.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of stress on myself. I should have allowed God to make sure she got here, did what I could as a human, and enjoyed the rest. And that I did not do. So if I were to have another child, that is something that I would focus more on, being more present and enjoying that pregnancy, especially now knowing that I may not birth another child.
Yeah.
So that's something I tell all moms, you have to learn when to just say, you know what? I don't want to hear you today to the doctors. I don't want to hear this today. I'm trying to have a good day and block it out. But also be okay with saying no. I don't want to do that test. That doesn't work for me. And being okay with that decision as long as, you know, it's the best thing for you and your child. That's that's something I could say I would definitely do differently.
That's so beautifully said. That's very
Yes.
beautifully said. Um, Now, did you notice any differences going from one baby house, which he's not really a baby, so don't tell him I said that, to a two baby house? Because especially with the age gap between them, was there
Yes.
challenges that you guys faced as a family growing like that?
There were definitely some growing challenges. I will say me and my son, we are like little twins. We kind of grew up together. So we got used to doing things our way. We want to go out of town. Let's go, son. We want to you don't want to eat tonight. I don't want to eat tonight. Well, we're not going to eat tonight.
Yeah.
You don't want ramen, fine. So we've had to make adjustments surrounding those type of things. Just adding the typical adjustments of adding a new human into the house, not so much more quietness. Me and him are both introverted extroverts. We're used to having our time. We're okay with being, so now not only is there the baby, we have a partner who's been here for years, so he's not new, but the
Yeah,
new aspect of mothering, parenting with him is new.
right.
So that has been some adjustments. We all come from different households. So it's like, no, don't feed the baby this. Yes, feed the baby this. Do we give the baby meat? No, don't give. So that has been some, just small adjustments of learning to mix two people together and then creating a bond between a, a sister siblings that is kind of can be a challenge, especially when they're so far apart.
Yeah.
When you have a 2-year old and a 4-year old, they kind of create their bond. With my son and my daughter, I've had to allow them to create their bond. They went through, my son won't say it, but he went through phases where he was like, I'm going to my dad's house because I'm sick and tired of hearing this baby cry. And
Right.
then my daughter went through phases where she's like, who's this dude? Looking at her brother like she wouldn't go to him. Now they're doing much better. They have their own little relationship. It's really funny to see a 2-year-old and a 15-year-old and a 2-year-old boss around a 15-year-old.
I bet.
Right. So, but yeah, it took a lot more thought. For me as a mother, um, it's different being an older mother. Um, Employment wise, I had to choose not to go back physically into the workplace. We brought home a preemie. My daughter was a little over 4 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So, and she ended up having to have some surgeries, things like that. So I made the choice immediately not to go back into the workplace,
Mhm.
and to work from home. And then just trying to balance my own health with hers. With my son, I had severe postpartum. And that was one of those things, having her, where I was like, I cannot go through that again.
Right.
So trying to make adjustments so that I can have time for myself, and where I don't just feel like all I am is a mom, because my identity is not mom. My identity is Mimi.
I love that. Yeah.
So still doing things that I love to do and taking time for myself, and you know, so that has been something that I've had to work on over the last 2 years with having a new little human here.
Oh, I love it. That's good.
Yeah,
That's such an awesome journey though, to see, I'm sure, the growth that you've seen in yourself, your son, and your daughter, and partner, and all that, just to see the growth that you guys have all gone through on this
right.
journey to adding a new little one into the mix. All
Yeah.
right, I have one last question for you. It's a
All right.
goofy one, a little bit goofy. If you had a theme song to being a parent, what would your theme song be right now?
Oh my gosh. I have no clue. That is a hard one. If I had a theme song to being a parent, I don't know. That's a good question. I have no clue.
It's one of those like random questions I love asking. It's kind of like my other favorite question is, if your life was a movie, what genre would it be? That's my other
Oh,
favorite
honey, it
question.
would be drama. Just places every day. It's something. I can tell you, we don't have a theme song, but right, like the child, all she does is watch Elmo and Blippi. So
Oh gosh.
Elmo is probably my human theme song walk. I don't know. You
His
know, I
theme
can see
song has
her
become your theme song.
right, her theme song has become mine because yeah, I don't know, that's crazy.
I'll
Yeah,
let you think about it.
yeah,
You can get back to me. I'll edit it in.
okay.
All right, perfect. Well, that's all I have for you. I appreciate your time and thank you so much for all your insight. It was all beautiful.
Yes,
Beautiful. So I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for listening to this empowering episode of Vibrant Beginnings, hosted by me, Dr. Ashley Thomas. This podcast is powered by Creating Vibrant Families, where our mission is to help couples on their journey to conception, gain health to have radiant pregnancies through to birth. Follow for more empowering journeys to parenthood. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Have a good day. Bye.